Hi, everybody. Coming on let's see if I can make sure that I'm on. Okay, so I see that we're on. Everything is working, and we are at day 1,848. 1,848 days. Can you believe it? And it's probably more than that. And we have been live streaming just about all those days. And for a long time, I think it was a couple years, I was live streaming consistently every day, twice a day, um, to get all of the evidence that we have, because it's been 1,848 days that Richard, our son, Richard Halliday, the Fort Bliss whistleblower soldier, whistleblowing on what he knew about the Walmart mass shooting and also reporting the criminal trafficking along the El Paso borderland and into Fort Bliss. So, you know, it's a big deal. He was forcibly removed from his barracks and they took his life because of what he knew about the Walmart mass shooting. That's very clear. And of course, reporting the criminal trafficking. And those don't seem exclusive, those seem to be connected. The criminal trafficking, the weapons, because of what the general told us, General David Stewart, what we heard from Command Sergeant Major Jake Jakovitz, what we know from Jay Paulin, what we know from um, all of the witnesses that, because we were living there in El Paso, and conducting rallies, 4 to 6 rallies a week, um, for months and months. So all of that information, together, we're not just uh, guessing. This is an absolute legitimate investigation because we were told to investigate. We were told to investigate by the CID, by the command, by JAG, um, the, all, all the agencies that were there. They couldn't do anything unless we bring them leads, And that includes DPS. That includes the Department of Public Safety, which I'm going to talk about tonight. Thank you, Anicia, for coming on for so late, so late. But we are just swamped with information, and I do want to tell people that have been contacting us, and thank you so much for all the information. Please keep sending it. If we don't get back to you as quickly as we want to get back to you, it's just because everything is breaking, because everything has changed since President Trump's personal letters, not just one, but two. A lot of things have changed because that was a confirmation on national record, that we've been right all along, that Richard was right all along, that he's a stellar soldier, that he's a whistleblower, and that he was retaliated against, that they even took his life. He paid the ultimate price. That was a confirmation of that in the line of duty. And so, because of that, you have many more people reaching out to us. And so, we're going through all that information because we do vet the information because of the retaliation. And that retaliation has also increased again. So, we were being retaliated, that because of our um, note our documenting of the criminal activity, and filing that criminal activity, it did diminish somewhat. And so now, now we're experiencing some retaliation again. because the information that we're being given is so jaw dropping. It's so it confirms that we've been lied to, and that millions and millions of dollars that were supposed to go for justice, for an investigation into the Walmart mass shooting case, and also into our son's murder case, those monies, where did they go to? What were they really used for? Right? That this both cases have been compromised, botched, abused, obstructed, and so you know, and all the information that we have been putting out lately. If you've been following this case, you absolutely can confirm. I've been getting calls and saying, "Wow!" And especially to those that are privileged to a lot of the letters that we send out, they're just like, oh my gosh, this is just unbelievable. And it's being confirmed and confirmed and confirmed by hard evidence. And now, and of course, all the whistleblowers, all the witnesses. And there was heavy retaliation against whistleblowers and witnesses. And there was a lot of tampering with files, a lot of obstruction of justice, a lot of manufacturing narrative, manufacturing um, framing people with false, using the law enforcement, like the canine cop, using individuals to manufacture framing around things. And so, if they're going to do that, that's a pattern, right? Absolutely, our evidence shows a pattern that they manufacture um, circumstances. And so if they do that, the orchestration of the Walmart mass shooting, if they have so many people that are politically so in, because it is very political, this was a political hit, um, that they're so politically dedicated that they would commit the worst type of crimes like a mass shooting, right? Because this is a bloody mass shooting. There's no way around it. You see the pictures. This is when I say orchestration, I'm not saying anything fake. I'm saying this is real precision. Um, Shots taken at people's heads that ended their lives immediately. Real, uh, it's just the worst, capital crimes, capital crimes. Oh my goodness, thank you so much, Gloria. I'm going to have to translate that. I'm going to have to translate that. Thank you so much. So and Gloria, you know this. We can speak from mother to mother. Um, the crimes that they commit are just the so atrocious, so atrocious. And if we don't stand up, they will be emboldened to do it even more and more and more. Look at what the Plenitude Crematorium did. They were so emboldened that they didn't even run their furnaces after 2022, even though they had working furnaces. And they didn't work the furnaces. They let the bodies pile up on top of each other. They stacked them up, right? And they just let them rot. They just let them rot. Um, that's toxic to all the neighbors. All the rats were coming. It was just it was hell on earth. And that was allowed to, that they were so emboldened that they let it get worse and worse and worse. And then when they finally got caught, what's the first thing they did that night was run their furnaces. Run their furnaces. And so, and these are unidentified bodies. And now we have those that feel the same way that we do, that this cannot not be allowed to continue. It just cannot continue, right? Um, And so in Mexico, in Juarez, in Chihuahua, they are now demanding and putting in a Fiscalia, an FRA, a criminal complaint to identify all of these bodies, because the last time that we received intel, only 6 bodies of the over 400 bodies. I know they're claiming 386, but it's our numbers are more than that, because they didn't collect all of them, and the bones are coming up and everything like that. They have the means to identify these remains, and even the partial remains, and we have information and all and evidence that points to Richard's partial remains being at the Plenitude Crematorium because of its connections with Purchase Funeral Homes, with Bill Hicks, with Beto O'Rourke, with the Sinaloa cartel. Sinaloa cartel, very connected to the obstruction, to the interference in our son's case. Okay. So, and this is all connected to the Walmart case, to the Walmart mass shooting. And so we've been told to investigate. We've, have learned over the years, and we seem to be getting better and better and knowing what to look for. And so when the DPS came out, of course, Frisky Business, Jose Sanchez, the director of the he's a regional director, okay, of the Western District of Texas, which, that's where I lived for a big part of my life, in the Western District of Texas. I also lived in Central Texas, in Temple, Texas. Grew up I even went to school at Mary Hardin Baylor is my alma mater, okay? Is my um so you know I understand how big Texas is, right? So, Director Sanchez is the Western Regional Director for the Department of Public Safety, and his job is to look after the people, right? And all the state troopers, uh, their job is to we give them loads of money. I mean, this one state trooper that is retaliating against us, that's harassing us, violating all kinds of policies and even the law, even the regulations, even the law. I mean, when you start looking into it, you're like, oh my gosh, this guy is the worst. And he's getting close to $100,000 a year for being the worst, not looking after a Gold Star family, right? Um, but uh, interfering and retaliating, right? So, and we were told this is this is the thing. This is how rotten they are. We were told in 2020 that we had to investigate ourselves and bring them leads. Otherwise, they could not do anything. So now that we're bringing leads, we're bringing real questions, questions that need to be answered. And we're bringing in uh, what other people have been wanting to bring in or brought in that was covered up, because in the Walmart mass shooting case and in Richard's case, but the Walmart, everyone knew that there was a gag order. Everyone knew that there was no transparency in it, that the case was sealed, and that it was a gag order. And so now that there's no gag order, that there's no seals, that the case has been closed, okay, even though they talked and talked and talked about trying to get the death penalty for Patrick Crucius, they never did it. They never meant to do it. They never meant to do it. It was because they never ever even set a trial date to do it, right? And there was never a trial. It was just plea deals, just backroom deals, a lot of them illegal, backroom deals, um, and gag orders and seals, lack of transparency. So now that it's closed, thank God, we don't have the gag order. We don't have um, to hold our tongue, right? We can absolutely ask the questions that uh, so many, so many want to ask, right? Gloria says she prays to God for justice for your son and daughters. What happened to your son and Vanessa was very traumatic and painful. Oh my, look, and I want to tell Gloria that we have lit candles for Vanessa over and over and over again, along with our son Richard, and many more. And I can't even tell you the pain that we've had to have bottled up and cannot express because we're investigating our own son's, um, the taking of his life in a very brutal way. And we've had to bottle up our pain and our grief and our anger, because uh, we've had to really just be objective and uh, go through the law, even though so many of the law enforcers are absolutely compromised. I mean, just about all of them are compromised. Look at the in El Paso is just, and they suck all that taxpayer money and they're compromised. There's not one judge on the mag court that's legitimate. They're all illegitimate. They're all rogue individuals that are sucking taxpayer money and they're not even qualified. It's just the medical examiner, right? How can you get an accurate um, death certificate or autopsy report from a person that is connected to the cartel that have conflicts of interest that's not even legitimate because they have immigration, they're they have immigration problems, they're can be bribed so easily, right? They can be bribed so easily and they get hundreds of thousands of dollars, so then they have power um, to cover up their issues, right? Their criminality. Absolutely, it's just uh, so we've had to really put things in God's hands. We are so grateful for your prayers because we put it all in God's hands because God is bigger than all of them, right? And He knows who's who. And so we just absolutely pray for justice for Vanessa Guillen and for our son Richard and for many, many more. I've talked to many other uh, parents, and it is a huge systemic problem. Huge. And I just am so grateful to God that the Guillen family um, was given their daughter's remains. And we're fighting for our son's remains. We know they found his remains and that they're keeping them from us. And so this goes right to proving this pattern of being deceptive, of being obstructionist, of being harassers, of not having any kind of respect for a Gold Star family. Um, and this is what this state trooper that has been retaliating against us lately, harassing us. Um, this is this shows a pattern. This goes instead of getting angry, right? Instead of getting angry, instead of getting bitter, instead of wanting to get sassy, instead of wanting to maybe be intimidated and be fearful of this big fat bully, um, you know, we have to say, wait a minute, what does the law say about this, right? And let me tell you, the law doesn't take kindly to a state trooper, a veteran state trooper to be. Can you imagine a veteran and a state trooper being harassing a Gold Star family whose son gave the ultimate sacrifice? And there's a conflict of interest because of the DPS, because of, you know, what we have filed. Um, you have the director of DPS doing frisky business in a parking lot during his time, wearing his badge in his official vehicle. Um, and he has important, important duties to do, not frisky business on taxpayer time. Okay. And then with a honey trap, it, Danielle, she could be absolutely, I mean, she could be a huge honey trap. Her connections and her vehicles, she has multiple vehicles, way over 100,000, some over $200,000. Um, she has connections. She has huge connections. If you want to, if you're part of this um, funeral home scam, or the political party that is against President Trump, right? And in Europe to no good with criminal trafficking. Who would you want to honey trap, right? Who would you want to honey trap? You'd want to honey trap the person that has control over the case, and that's Jose Sanchez, the director of DPS. And so we've gotten so much information in the last few hours about all of this. I do want to tell you very quickly some breaking news. Our breaking news is coming in so fast. I have to give you a list of it, right? I have to give you a list of it. Like, it has been confirmed, breaking news, that the Old Bowie High School, which is now Guillen Middle School, indeed has tunnels underneath it. Indeed has tunnels underneath it, and it lies right on the border of the USA and Mexico. The middle school, the Old Bowie High School, is directly on the border um, of USA and Mexico, in El Paso, Juarez, Texas, Chihuahua. Okay, so it is absolutely, and it has been confirmed that those tunnels are under the school. And so that is huge breaking news. The other breaking news is that we have confirmation that at 3 years after, 3 years after, oh, a little over 3 years after the Walmart mass shooting happened, there still was not in the DPS a forensics report on the mass shooting, on what happened that day. Okay? That is like jaw dropping. That's huge. That's huge. The other is Memo Garcia, right? Memo Garcia, who was shot on August 3rd, 2019, right in front of the Walmart, right? We have, well, what I can tell you is this, that hospital staff who took care of Memo Garcia was saying that Memo Garcia said, Patrick Crucius did not shoot me. There were multiple shooters. There were more than one shooters. Okay? So that Memo Garcia was reporting to the hospital staff. We have information and names, hospital staff, that said exactly what I just said. Okay, now that's that's very important, and that needs to be looked at with the other evidence that we have. For example, not limited to, but for example, and why is this all, and I'm going to tie this all together, why this is important for Richard's case. But for example, Maria Eugenia, okay, she was, I we heard through the official narrative that it was Alexander Hoffman, that was first. That was first. He lost his life first. It doesn't add up unless there are multiple shooters because of where Maria Eugenia uh, Lagareth wrote, where her body, where she fell. And the pictures, I can't put them up. I can't put them up. But she's in the same situation as Alexander Hoffman. It's so alike. I'm thinking, that those two had very important, somebody, that was a designated hit. That was not random. Okay? Because those were headshots, they were precision. My husband is a 30-year vet. We have lots of friends that have a lot of veteran experience. These were precision hits when you look at the forensics, but of course, the forensics hasn't been released to the public. We've had to work very hard to get the forensics. Those forensics show that this was a professional, someone that was trained, not someone that was blind without their glasses, couldn't tie their shoes, had a long history of autism since childhood, failed kindergarten, was banging his head, and severe mental health conditions, and hearing sensitivity. Someone like that could not do to Alexander Hoffman, and Maria Eugenia Lagareth wrote what is seen, okay? What is confirmed. And Maria Eugenia's body was right in front of, just yards, right in front of Memo Garcia. And for him to say it was not Patrick Crucius that shot me. Now, that's coming from, not me, that's coming from hospital staff that cared for him. Okay? Not me. Not me. I was not there in the hospital room with him. I'm saying this is important to consider. The sources are good, the sources are great. And when you think of Maria, when you see the video that DPS, who is compromised, DPS is clearly compromised. And not only that, but unethical with frisky business, and now with retaliate, just because we're asking questions and bringing them leads, investigating, doing what we were told to do, bringing them leads so that they could take it and tell us what happened to our son and where's our son's body, right? and hold the people that did this to our son accountable. Now they have a retaliatory state trooper that wants to get mad um, and harass and intimidate and and it goes beyond that. It just goes beyond that. Violations all over the place, even breaking the law. And so what it shows is that the DPS is not interested in public safety, that they're not interested in honoring the people, in honoring the fallen, in honoring victims' families, that they're not interested in that they are compromised. They're more interested in these big paychecks and then harassing. And what else? Being cartel tied. Don't forget Gustavo Sanchez. Gustavo Sanchez in the E Company. And this is another analysis that we have to run. Because he was assigned to us and he's cartel tied. And he's tied not only to the cartel, but to the very cartel that targeted our son. The very cartel that targeted our son. The very group that evidence is piling up is connected to the Walmart mass shooting orchestration and cover up, and also to the horrific crime done against our son. So Gustavo Sanchez is related to Manny Chavira of A&R Chavira Auto Group. Gustavo Sanchez then is connected to that group, which is Bob Moore of El Paso Matters, the media. It's also related, family related, to Nadal Baim, who is a Palestinian arms dealer connected to the cartel, and his son-in-law was the lieutenant colonel in the G3 of the 32nd ADCOM, our son's command. So, the DPS, this state trooper, he didn't know what the heck he did. Or maybe he did. And they just seem to think that they have immunity, that the law will never come for them. But the law is clear. Those are violations. The regulations have been violated. The DPS now is not interested in public safety. They're interested in covering up for those that are connected to the cartel, to criminal trafficking, to targeting U.S. Army soldiers, to covering up for U.S. Army soldiers that have their life taken. They are interested in covering up for laundering, money laundering, all this other. That's what they're there for. That's why we're paying them these huge wages. I mean, the state trooper gets almost $100,000 a year. I think a lot of people would like to get paid and he gets paid to be to be a harasser, to obstruct, to intimidate, to retaliate, because we don't think that Gustavo Sanchez should get away with what he did, that we don't think that DPS director for the Western District of Texas, a huge area, bigger than most states, should get away with his violations. I mean, they're supposed to be for public safety. Maybe the Department of Public Safety needs to just go away. Maybe they just need to go away. Just end that department and the Department of Public Safety. Now you're going to a lot of people are getting paid big wages in there. But for those big wages, we want the job done. And we want the job done that they signed up for, that they took the oath for. And all the while, you have these questions in the Walmart mass shooting and in Richard's case, and we're allowed to ask them because they work for us. We don't work for them, they work for us. And I'm asking the question because in the video that they released on YouTube, I didn't ask them. I do want all the transparency. I do want to see it. I want to see the forensics report. We paid millions and millions and millions of dollars for that investigation. Where is a forensic report? We're at 6 years. And those forensic report, it would answer these questions. What bullets were used? What caliber? Because we have it that different calibers were found, that brown tip bullets were found, which is a military grade bullet that is not sold publicly. And so, yes, we want to know about Memo Garcia. See, the whole thing with Memo Garcia is in the video that DPS released of this person they call Patrick Crucius in the parking lot, which I don't know, his whole movements are too suave for, my mom calls Patrick Crucius's walk and I probably should make a video of it. In the Walmart like a doofus walk, right? Like a doofus walk. Uh, it, it's it's different from when he's out in the parking lot. And maybe it's so. Maybe it is so. But we need a forensic examination, don't we? We need a forensics report to look at, don't we? And we're allowed to ask the questions. We're allowed to say, what caliber, what kind of gun was used in this crime? We're allowed. Were there multiple? Because if there's multiple weapons and multiple calibers, that means there's multiple shooters. And in this parking lot scene, this person is coming down towards Maria. The problem is Maria's already gone. She's already laying there with only half her head. So, and there's, I've watched that video so many times. There's no possibility. And with all of our experienced friends, there's no possibility that, and these are very experienced friends, with so many deployments, so much hunting experience, so much experience. There's no possibility that that person in that video is the one that did that to Maria. Okay? And so for this information to come out now about the hospital staff saying, no, it wasn't Patrick Crucius. Well, then that would make sense because look at how close they were. They were just yards apart. They were very close. So whoever did this to Maria might be the ones that did this to Memo and the others that were there fundraising. And wouldn't people want to know that? Wouldn't people want to hold the real person that did the harm accountable? Now, I'm not saying that Patrick Crucius is innocent. He has life in prison. He told his lawyer, Joe Spencer, and Joe Spencer said it on audio that Patrick Crucius believed he killed just one or two people. But there's 21 more people that lost their lives that day. And then, of course, Glendon Oakley Jr., Memo Garcia later, and our son. Because I count our son as part of that. And I think maybe Asia Graham part of that whole thing. What did she know? So, it's, and there's others, but, it's just, I know, unbelievable, unbelievable. She says, keep bringing the light so those people involved in Richard's death will be punished. And I want to say this to Gloria. Those that hurt Vanessa are the same group that hurt Richard. This is the same group. So bringing accountability to Richard would be bringing accountability to Vanessa. And I know, there was so much narrative around Vanessa, and I had Richard's godmother, who's from Panama, who is bilingual. She translated everything that Gloria said for me. And she said, Gloria says she does not believe that they got justice. And I said, exactly. Because the CID never, ever intended to find Vanessa. Just like they never intended to find Richard. They knew where Vanessa was, I believe, and they knew where Richard was, and they have his remains. I really believe that they are part of the problem. And that's why this latest arrest on Fort Bliss did not include the CID. If you notice that, it was an FBI sting. And that tells you everything that we need to know that's going on in the CID. So, because Quantico Todd Howell, CID Quantico Todd Howell, was so compromised. So, Vanessa's case and Richard's case are absolutely linked because it's the same leadership that betrayed us, that became traitors, that betrayed our children. And it's that same group, and I don't know if she experienced it, but we've experienced it. 5 years of being retaliated against, harassed, and now from a state trooper, which is, you know, you can be a private citizen and get away with harassing a little bit, right? But a state trooper whose duty, whose oath is for public safety, and he's a veteran, and we're a Gold Star family, and he absolutely knows that we were told because DPS was in that meeting with the 15 plus agencies that task force find Richard Halliday. They absolutely know about Richard's case, and they absolutely know that we were told to do the investigation, that we were to investigate and bring them leads. Otherwise, they couldn't help us, and they would put Richard in cold case. And we have worked so hard to keep Richard out of cold case. So, it is breaking news, breaking news. And I have another list of breaking news. Today is like quadruple breaking news. And that is there was no forensics report 3 years after. So, um, I'm trying to decipher uh, because I'm like, oh, I think I already said that. But here it is at 1:30, almost 1:30 in the morning. Um, but yeah, that is huge breaking news. It was worth saying twice. And I want to say thank you so much from the bottom of my heart to the Guillen family for supporting us, for coming on, and we're getting there. We're getting there. And I want to say we love you, and we love everyone that comes on Anicia all the time. And thank you for translating for me on that one. Um, and thank you, Christina, for coming on so late. We're things are breaking. We're over the X because information is coming in, and we want to say thank you to everybody. And if we don't get back to you, it's not because we don't appreciate it. It's because we're really getting a lot of information and going through it all. Thank you so much. God bless you. And I will be back tomorrow, God willing. Bye bye.